The idea that an event of this magnitude, an event that seems this big screen ready, hasn't really been portrayed in a feature or theatrical film before, that sort of blew my mind.
It's such a remarkable story. I'm surprised that it hasn't been told before.
For the most famous event in world history, it's actually shocking how little known the particulars of the event actually are and how little known the man who took those first steps actually is. Set. And background. Lena's just a little steadier. Let's do one more set of those looks, Ryan. And action on it.
What's so interesting about Neil Armstrong other than he stepped on the moon?
Armstrong. It's a story about a bunch of people who decide that they want to go get on the top of these giant rocket ships and land on the moon and walk around, right? It's impossible. It can't happen. No one can do that. Well, these guys made it happen.
And then when I hear Damien's take on that,
I really wanted to know what it felt like to be that first man putting the footprint on the moon.
The way it's written and the way that Ryan plays it, I think is so true.
when I actually start doing the work and looking at what Neil had to endure, I see this actually is a pretty inspiring story, although not one that you would necessarily have thought to tell 5 or 10 or 15 years ago.
Someone so well-known could still be so unknown. That seems strange. He did avoid the limelight. He was extremely humble and deeply focused. After reading James Hansen's book, I realized just how complicated and emotional and unique this story really was, so I felt really lucky to get to be a part of it.
I wouldn't have wanted to do this if I thought somehow we were violating Neil's legacy in some significant way or the family was totally against it, and they haven't been.
I think he was reaching a stage in his life where he thought maybe a movie would help ignite interest in space in a way that he felt like it wasn't at the time.
Because I know that the commitment of Josh and Damien to getting it right, getting it as authentic as possible.
Neil done such risky flights.
It sort of required Damien's initial instinct of this is where the story is. The story is sacrifice. The story is grief and loss. The story is the sweat and tears and blood.
It needs to be shut down.
It's the best simulation we have.
And I think the whole point about this movie is that you're moving through time with Neil as he's progressing to the ultimate goal.
I think we're going to give across that sense of wonder that this farmer from the middle of America flew an X-15, went through all of this, lost a child, lost his friends, walked down a ladder and stepped out on a foreign planet.
I don't think there's a wrong time period to tell this story.
When something is so iconic that it becomes difficult for us to even process it, that's where I became really interested in trying to investigate the reality behind that. We live in a world where people have walked on the moon. We forget just how crazy and hard and radical an enterprise it really was.